Welcome to Kelly's Take 2 Pre-Licensing Review. All about what? Unit 2. Unit 2 is a thick unit, that is for sure. And we are just about to the end of Unit 2. We are about to dive into Section 5 or Part 5 of Unit 2 on something called hybrid ownership. Now, you have got some really great materials located in your supplemental binder. We call that lovingly the sidekick, where you will have examples of each type of hybrid ownership side by side, which is so fantastic. I would suggest you look that over, maybe turn that into your own flashcard or whatnot. So I'm going to keep this section pretty brief only because we do have so many wonderful supplemental items in your printed sidekick as well. But when I talk about hybrid ownership, I'm really talking about four things. Number one, a condominium versus number two, a townhome versus number three, a cooperative versus number four, a trust. I'm going to put, and we're going to add number five, a timeshare. I'm going to put the most emphasis on a condominium versus a townhome, but I will touch lightly on the others as well. All right, so grab a clean sheet of paper. I'm going to grab my whiteboard, take notes with me if you desire. If you are listening to me while you're out and about or you're cooking, cleaning, those sorts of things, once again, feel free to speed up my speech timing. That will help you get through these reviews a lot more quickly, and my students really do enjoy that quite a bit. So we're going to title this section Hybrid Ownership. We're going to kick it off just doing a versus chart. So go ahead and draw a line. We could do a Venn diagram, but that might bring back bad memories from middle school. So we'll just do a versus chart. So versus, and I don't mean versus like on Instagram. No. Instead, we are just going to do a condo, because I don't feel like spelling condominium, and that's okay. A condo versus a townhome or a townhouse, however you want to say that, is fine with me. I'm going to hit some highlights, and then we're going to scooch right along here to the next item. So when you own a condominium, what do you own? You own airspace. You own airspace inside of your unit. So you are not responsible for maintenance of the roof, typically maintenance of the exterior, any of that. Whereas a townhome, you own the unit plus the land and the exterior. So that means you are, as a townhome owner, responsible for the maintenance of the roof, the maintenance of the exterior, the maintenance of the property, and so forth. What I like to tell people is this is going to greatly affect what type of insurance the owner or the future owner is going to obtain. A townhome buyer is going to obtain home insurance that's similar to single-family residential, whereas a condominium owner is going to obtain homeowners insurance that's specifically for condominium owners. One other thing about the townhome is the wall that's in between each unit. You will have cross easements in that dividing wall so that each owner can get to their electrical systems and their plumbing systems. All right, what else do I want you to know about condo versus a townhome? Okay, here we go. Condominiums, you can stack on top of each other like blocks, so you can stack units. Whereas a townhome must be side by side. You can't stack townhome units. All right, very good. A condominium, you own common space as tenants in common, TIC. You do not own common space as tenants in common with a townhome. Let's see. So, what else do I want you to know about townhome versus a condominium? In both instances, you're going to pay some type of monthly fee for the upkeep of the area, plus any of those property taxes for those common areas. All right, let's see. Here we go. Condominium, you might have access to what? Access to limited items like a parking space or something like that. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So condominium, you can stack the units. A townhome, you cannot. A townhome, for all intents and purposes, will look very much like a regular house in terms of insurance and so forth. Where, oh, I got it. Okay, I thought of one. I knew I would think of one. A condominium for a brand new development, the buyer will have a 7-day cancellation time frame. Okay, that's only for a brand new development. Once we're doing resale, you don't get that. The townhome has no cancellation time when it comes to contract formation. Okay, good. All right, let's leave that one behind and let's go ahead and talk about a cooperative. So I'm going to clear my board. And again, reference your Sidekick materials. They're really great. It's a great graphic. You'll enjoy that very much. Okay, let's talk about a cooperative, like for 3 seconds. A cooperative is where, think of it as, I mean, where do we think of, when I say cooperative, it makes you think of what? New York City. Yes, Pace Conti sauce, New York City. Think of a co-op or whatnot. Okay, so when somebody wants to purchase an apartment or a unit, let's say that a unit, a buyer, when they purchase a unit in a cooperative, the buyer really purchases stock in a corporation that owns the building. So in a cooperative, the buyer owns stock in the corporation that owns the building. The buyer is becoming a shareholder in the corporation. So they are in effect receiving a proprietary lease in that ownership. They are not getting a deed because they are not buying the actual unit. They're buying stock in the corporation that owns the unit. So if you get a question about a cooperative, I'm willing to bet you it's going to be straight up vocabulary. Just look for the answer choice that's talking about either stock or shareholder, some such language like that, and you should be able to answer that correctly. All right, last but not least, oh no, it's not last but not least, we've got 2 more. Let's talk about another short one. Let's talk about a trust, and then we'll talk about a timeshare very briefly. All right, so trust in real estate. Some people will put their property in what's called a trust. It's part of estate planning. So a trust is used in estate planning to do what? To avoid the process of probate process. So when a person dies and they have a will, typically their estate will have to go through probate. And apparently I haven't done it yet, but I've heard that it is a long, arduous, and somewhat expensive process, expensive in money and time for that matter, for the executor of the will, for the heirs, and so on and so forth. So some people will put together a trust instead. And that means when they pass, their property will avoid going through, or their assets will avoid going through the probate process. Well, how does that affect us in real estate? So that's what you might be tested on. So a broker's responsibility, is to what? To sign contracts with the trustee. The trustee is the only party that is authorized to transfer the property or to sign listing agreements or contracts for sale. The person living in the house is not always the trustee. So if it comes up, or if you notice something odd when you go to pull the deed or some such thing, you want to pause, you want to stop, take a second, pause, percolate, and then proceed. How should you proceed? Call yourself an attorney, get some legal advice, and make sure that you're entering into those agreements with the proper individual, who in this case would be considered the trustee. Done with that. All right, last but not least, let's round it out with a small little chit chat on timeshares. Now, let me make sure. Okay, timeshares in North Carolina. Apparently, each state has their own rules regarding timeshares. Who knew? Okay. And North Carolina, the Real Estate Commission at their spring conference let us know that they are going to be updating some timeshare rules because timeshares have evolved over the decades and are now looking a lot different than they did when they first came out. So I'm going to teach to you what's currently on the books, and when things change, I will update that for you as well. So a timeshare, one big thing to know about a timeshare in North Carolina is that a buyer has a 5-day cancellation time frame, which is so awesome. They have a 5-day cancellation period. So, because if you've been to a timeshare, not to throw any shade at timeshare sales folks, but it can be a little high pressure. There's a little bit of high pressure there. Okay. So the state of North Carolina the Real Estate Commission is here to protect the public. And they say, hey, if someone signs a timeshare contract, we're going to give them 5 days to wake up, come to their senses, and either stay in that contract or rescind. That means back out without penalty. So they have 5 days to do that. A timeshare is defined as, let me find it, as the right to occupy a unit during 5 separated periods, over at least 5+ years. Okay, so the buyer has a right to occupy 5 separated periods over 5+, a minimum of 5+ years. They have a 5-day cancellation period. And one other nice thing to know is that any deposit monies, let's put it here. So the buyer's deposit money must be kept for 10 days in the developer's escrow account. After 10 days, the developer can move it into their general fund or some such thing. But essentially, the buyer's deposit money will stay in the developer's escrow account or trust account for a period of 10 days. So I know this is messy, but I want you to focus your attention here because I'll teach you a little trick. If you get a timeshare question, which I'm going to give that a fairly low probability, but if you do, pay attention to these numbers right here. You're only going to have the number 5 typically, or the number 10 associated with a timeshare question. And again, I'm teaching you these shortcuts. Why? Because you have 800 pages to get through in a matter of 6 weeks, and you only have so much bandwidth, y'all. So think of it as this way. Timeshare rules involve what? The 5, 5, 5 jazz hands rule. Let's do it again. The 5, 5, 5 jazz hands rule. The buyer has a 5-day cancellation period, has a right to occupy 5 separate periods over a minimum of 5 years. Deposit money, jazz hands, has to be kept in the developer's escrow account for 10 days. After that, it can move to the general fund. People, I know you're exhausted because I'm exhausted. We have come to the end of Unit 2. Can we put that to bed? Okay. Yes, you did it. Let's move on to Unit 3 on transfer of title, and I'm looking forward to it. See you soon.